up. So I'm very excited to be here. Been here since March 9th. During that time, I've gotten to spend a lot of time with the guys in the room, which is most important out of everything right now, is getting to know each and every one of those offensive linemen. They're all in a different period of development. They're all in a different period of time through their college career. So they all have their own story, and to be able to sit down and talk with those guys and get to know each one of them individually and off the field, and then get out on the field and do a little drills. And then when spring practice started, get to know them a little bit more that way. And you really find out a lot about a young man and get a good snapshot for what his weaknesses are and what his strengths are. So that's been really exciting. I think when you start talking about the offensive line room, I think you have to start with Tyler Leonard. I'm not splitting the atom there. I don't think I'm telling you guys anything you don't know already. But Tyler is exactly what people say about him. His leadership, his mentorship to younger players, his everyday work ethic, and most importantly, his hunger to get better. This is a kid that could rest a little bit on his laurels and what he's accomplished, and he's the exact opposite. And we have a chunk, we'll talk later, but we have a chunk of young kids in the room right now that are going through their first spring and learning the ropes of everything. And to be able to see a kid like Tyler go through his daily activities, how he does it, is a pretty huge positive. And then you have Kyler Schott. Shooter's tremendous story. Obviously started as a walk-on, gained scholarship, became a starter at times, played really, really well. And he provides an energy and leadership that's very valuable right now. And then the third older guy that's providing a ton of leadership is Cody Ince. Cody is not able to join us on the field, but he's with us in the meetings. He's actually on the field, but helping younger kids. And he's a 5-position player, so he has the ability to speak to a lot of different kids. There's very few times where I look over and Cody's not giving a young man some advice. So that's also good to see. And Justin Britt also, for a little bit of younger guy, gives tremendous leadership in the room. The rest of the room is I see it as kind of a land of opportunity to say. We have some middle-aged guys that are, it's their time to step in and step up. And so their opportunity is right there. And it's fun to watch those guys go through the daily process of development and getting better and stepping into those shoes that were left. And then we have a chunk of younger kids that whether they're first year or second year guys, are going through their first spring. And for the offensive line, the development piece for the offensive line is so huge. And so we have a number of guys going through that for the first time and learning the ropes and really delving into what it really means and what it's like to be an offensive lineman in college. So I'm looking forward to, I love the mix of the room, got some experience, got some guys that have opportunity, got some guys that are right in the thick of their development. And I'm just looking forward to continuing to work with them. It's been great every day with them. And I'm just looking forward to the next day and the next day and keep on that and keeping that developmental pace. And then with that being said, I'll take any questions you guys have.
You're muted, Brewer.
All right. Hey, thanks for the heads up, Chad. My mistake. Coach, we'll take the first question this afternoon from Scott Docterman.
Yeah, Coach, how are you today? I'm with The Athletic. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Scott.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you kind of about your wild 3 to 4 or 5 months here. I mean, you've been with Coach Chuck Martin for a long time and then made the move to Tulane. We're there for a cup of coffee, probably a chance to drop your bags off on the floor, and then boom, you're in Iowa. What was that whole couple of months like for you, especially after the chaotic season last year?
Yeah, it was. It's the first time I really thought about it. It was kind of a day-to-day basis for me. it was hard leaving Miami. My thoughts and my relationship with Chuck Martin is very strong. And I enjoyed my time in Miami, and we accomplished some really cool things together. But it was 7 years there, and I'm a people guy. So if I don't have a connection somehow, some way through people, maybe direct, indirect, I just kind of stay where I'm at and work hard and love every second of it. And that's what I did in Miami for all that time. And then I had some connections to Willie Fritz and Chip Long down in Tulane. And so it was a situation where I think I better look into this and see where this goes, and end up taking the job. So I get my feet on the ground there and get working. And, it's one of those deals where one of my mentor, a guy named Harry Heastand, calls me up one evening and says, "Hey, I just talked to Coach Ferentsen, and I think they're going to have a position open up." And immediately what I thought was the thoughts I had 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago of, hey, that's probably one of those jobs that I don't know if I'd ever pass up. If I had a chance to work for Coach Ferentz, I don't know if I'd ever pass that up. So that was my reaction. And then obviously the process moved forward from there. As far as the craziness of it, for me, it was just family. I have a wife and 2 kids. That's all that mattered to me. So it was crazy communication with my daughter, who's 14 years old, making sure she was my agent. She had to okay everything, and talking to my son and talking to my wife and making sure everybody was on board. And they knew they knew they knew how important this situation could be for our family. And we're all from Illinois area, central Illinois. So it was crazy, but natural. And we've just been rolling with the punches and excited. It hasn't been arduous or anything like that. A couple transitions, but heck of a question. But I really thought about it. Just keep going. And obviously when you get here, the excitement is through the roof, and you're on cloud 9, and you're just trying to work and trying to find out about kids. And I don't even know what day it is. So.
All right, Scott, thank you for that and for naming your affiliation. As we move forward, please do the same. The next question is from Tom. Tom, can you state your name and affiliation?
Hey, Coach Tom Kakert. I'm with Rivals.com, Hawkeye Report. Good to meet you. Was wondering, did Harry Heastand kind of get you in the door, and what is it like for a coach to go in, an offensive line coach to go in? The Ferentz name is kind of synonymous with offensive line. Is that a nerve-wracking experience to sit down for an interview with Kirk Ferentz?
I don't know about nerve-wracking. To me, I saw it as an opportunity. I saw it as what an opportunity to sit down and talk football with Coach Ferentz and Brian and all the guys here. And I don't know if nerve-wracking is the word, because you just admire the work that they've done here. To be able to go through multiple line coaches, and they keep the same fundamentals and they keep the same teachings, and that was the intrigue that I've always had with Iowa, is they lean on certain things. And but yeah, no, just sitting down with those guys and talking football, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, but better. The success they've had, as a line coach and an outsider. So 2 months ago, I'm not at Iowa, and I'm a line coach. And Coach Ferentz, Iowa football, that's pretty high. That's pretty top shelf. And when you come in and talk and talk ball and listen to them respond and ask them questions too, and listen, what strikes you is obviously the knowledge base. What also strikes you is how humble they are and how they handle their business. And it makes you want to be a part of it. And that was what I took from that interview process. I told my wife, I said, I'll have a hard time thinking that I'm not going to be a better coach working in this building. I have a hard time thinking I'm not going to be a better husband and father working for Coach Ferentz. Because to me, it's everything. It's not just the coaching piece especially when you're raising two little ones.
Coach, the next question is from Chad.
Hi there, Chad Leistico with the Des Moines Register. Nice to meet you. Obviously, you come into a situation where Iowa was replacing two starting tackles. I was just kind of curious, philosophically, what do you look for in your starting tackles? What have you seen maybe so far from some of the leaders in camp?
I think what you're looking for, first of all, is just a basis of fundamentals with their feet. You're always looking for the athletic ability with their lower body. That's because if they can place their body correctly in the run and the pass on the edges, you got a chance. That's a start. And then it goes to the mental for me. Confidence level. If they do have a rep that doesn't go great, how are they in the huddle that next play? Love watching the guys in the huddle. Love watching their facial expressions or body language after a not so great rep, and how do they bounce back? Just playing tackles a little bit like playing probably DB in the league, because there's going to be not so great reps, and how do you react and how do you respond and get back to that next rep? So I think it's a mix of the physical and the mental. And we've had some guys doing some nice things in camp, but it's a developmental phase right now. There's no question. And I wouldn't expect anything different if you're replacing the guys we're replacing right now. Jack Plum has stepped in and done a nice job at left, and he's played a little bit of both during camp. I think that's important too, to dual train a little bit. But Jack has gotten better. The last 6 or 7 days, he's really started to ramp up his play a little bit. And that's to be expected. A little bit of a lull is to be expected, a little bit of a ramps to be expected. There might be a little lull coming. And how he handles all those phases through this development is key. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's absolutely a day-by-day process when you're talking about offensive line play. But yeah, he's doing a fine job. And Nick DeYoung has gotten a lot of the reps on the other side. He plays big, he plays square, very fundamentally sound, very calm demeanor. Him and Jack both, they handle themselves well. But Nick's been a pleasure to watch and coach through the camp here. And then Mason Richmond's kicked out. He's been playing some guard for us as a young kid, and he's kicked out to the tackle position also. And he's very smooth and natural and athletic. I think you'll notice with him, and when you see him, he does a lot of things well for a young kid. So, and then there's some other guys hanging in there for that 4 spot and working in with the 2s, and they're doing a fine job. It's just the day to day. It's how can we mesh the athletic with the mental.
All right, Coach. The next question is from Leah. Leah, can you please state your full name and affiliation?
Hi, Coach. I'm Leah. I'm with the Cedar Rapids Gazette, Leah Van. I'm also new here, so we're together in this. But anyway, yeah, I just kind of wanted to know more about why you got into coaching. We kind of all know what's on the resume, right? But kind of why you actually got into coaching, what you love about it. And then my second question would be what learning curves you might anticipate stepping into this job?
Number one, I'll start with your second question. The learning curves, I think the biggest learning curve anytime you step into a new building is just getting into the flow of the staff chemistry. And especially it's cool here because the staff's been together for so long. So there's so many known unknowns in our facility that because of the familiarity. So, but that's part of the transition. And then I think just getting to know the players. And I think when you're a coach stepping into the building, my younger days, the first thing what I want to do is put my foot down. Hey, this is how it's going to be, and this is how we're going to do it. And as I age a little bit and have experience with kids, I think it's important to take a snapshot, take a deep breath and watch and really evaluate and watch the kids and identify the leaders, sitting down with Tyler and asking him questions about the room, not only about himself, but the room and figuring out, all right, and letting it happen a little bit naturally and not trying to force things. Because again, this isn't a place where, you know, I've been at some jobs where hey, we hired a new line coach. You know, it's like you're a fireman. Come in, put out the fire. It's over there, and you do exactly what you want to do, and you do exactly how you have to do it, and just get it done. Here, it's not. There's not a fire. Here, it's they need someone to come in and do it their way, but do it in a way that it's cohesive with the players and the present coaches. And that, to me, that's the biggest thing that I've tried to focus on during this transition, is just watch and learn, and not let your ego or your pride precede what needs to be done. Your first question is a good one. Why'd you get into coaching? Long story short, I grew up in a small town called Tuscola, Illinois, right smack dab in central Illinois. Small, real strong sports community. Everybody played 3 sports. It was awesome. My freshman year, my father passed away. Okay. And what happened was, and I really didn't know at the time, but as I grew through my high school years, looking back, you realize how much your coaches help raise you, to be quite honest with you. And it's a powerful situation. And father figures, you know, helping you get from point A to point B, and not giving you any slack and pushing you hard, even though you're lost and you're trying to find answers to the 14-year-old kid who lost his dad. And those experiences shaped me. I just didn't realize it. You know, for instance, I got to college, I was a business major, I don't know, year and a half in, something like that. And I remember waking up one morning in my dorm, I looked in the mirror and I basically got mad at myself. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, why wouldn't you be a coach? Like, why wouldn't you be a coach and have the same effect on other kids that these people did on you? And I look back at Coach Winkie, my high school football coach, and Coach Butler, my freshman basketball coach, who was my coach when my father passed. And that next week, he was there for me. You know, though in those moments, and I switched my major that day. I switched my major to education that day and loaded up and became a high school teacher. And I'm so glad I did. So glad I did. And so when you asked, why do you coach? That's why I coach. You know, what's your why? My why is watching kids develop and watching kids become something they weren't quite sure they could become. And the challenge in this profession is finding the fit. Challenge in this profession as a line coach is finding, okay, I believe in these things, right? And I'm going to go try to work at a high level and not have those principles distorted and not lose myself in it. And I'm not so sure if there's a better place for that fit. That's how I've thought. When I say I've always thought of Iowa, it's because of what happened to me in high school. And so that's why I coach.
Coach, the next question is from Tyler. Tyler, can you state your name and affiliation?
Hey, George, I'm Tyler Devine with HawkFanatic.com. How much research do you do on the personnel that you're going to be working with? How much are you allowed to do, I guess, or can you do before you step on campus? Or is it just kind of, you throw yourself in there and you learn about these guys personally on the fly?
Yeah, it probably depends. I think when a job gets brought up to you, I think it depends on how powerful the job is for you. How much of, you know, if the roster may not be where you want it to be, everything else has to check out. It's like recruiting. It's the same thing. Here, I love the roster. I love the roster, checked it out, and had discussions about it. Love the mix of youth where you can get in and develop and get your hands dirty. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect early, and it's not what everybody, you know, who's your starting 5? I don't know. You know, we don't know yet. We're in developmental phases. So you may not have all the popular answers early in this situation, but it is definitely that situation that outweighs everything else. So, and to me here, it's got it's the right place, it's the right head coach, and I really like how the roster is shaped. Because you have a little bit, you have that small pack of leadership at the top, and then you have a developmental group that's, because of everything that happened last year, if you think about it, a lot of them are going through their first spring. So,
Coach, we got 3 more hands, so we'll take 3 more questions. The first is from David. David, can you please state your name and affiliation?
Hey, Coach Barnett, welcome to Iowa City. David Eichel, 24/7 Sports, Hawkeye Insider. If you could give me 3 words to describe your coaching philosophy and why, what 3 words would you choose?
3 words. I would say genuine. I would say develop, and I would say work. Those are probably the 3 words that I would lean on if, when I go into a job, go into a day of work. That's how I was raised, and that's what I believe in.
2 more questions, Coach. We'll circle back to Scott Dockerman from The Athletic.
Yeah, it's been a few years since we heard the name Winky and Tuscola, with John Winky here as the backup quarterback and short yardage punter at Iowa a few years ago. I wanted to ask you about kind of marrying your philosophy with that of Iowa's in a blocking perspective. Iowa's really unique characteristic is the backside knee and its aiming point. But how do you kind of marry what you've taught all these years with what, Coach Ferentz is probably on the Mount Rushmore of line coaches, and how does that sync up, and what do you have to learn, and how do you take away from the way he applies his style of philosophy and stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's the unique thing with this situation. I've always coached the same fundamentals, same coaching words, same fundamentals. So my mentor, Harry Heestand, he's a descendant of Joe Moore on the coaching tree, just like Coach Ferentz is. So that's how everything kind of connected together. I've been teaching those fundamentals since 1999 in Mattoon High School, and the backside knee and so that's probably starting to put the puzzle pieces together a little bit how I got here, but that's certainly the again 10 years ago when I'm looking for jobs that I would, from my side, that would be interested in. That's a huge piece of it. I mean, it's literally the same stuff. And even then, you come in, you still want to know exactly what's being said and how it's being said. And you're a little bit more quiet than you are talking early on, and because you want to do it right. You want to do those kids the right way and make sure that the transition is good for those kids. Those kids are 18, 19, 20-year-old. That's not easy. So what can I do as a coach to make their transition easier? Now, when I was in my 20s, I didn't think that. I didn't even think that way. I was just going in and, hey, I got to get this done and got to go. But yeah, the similarities and the meshing of the fundamentals it's aligned, I would say.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, the final question this afternoon is from Tom Kakert of Hawkeye Report.
Coach, wanted to ask you about recruiting a little bit. Do you have a recruiting territory eventually you're going to get out on the road again, I think. So do you kind of have an area carved out, and how has it gone transitioning to recruiting at the Iowa level so far?
Recruiting is, in my opinion, is very similar no matter where you're at. I haven't seen a huge change, honestly. It's still about relationships. It's still about finding the right fit and helping kids find the right fit. Sometimes we get caught up in recruiting battles and things like that. And if you just help a kid find where he fits in, the best, everyone wins down the road. It's hard to stick to that. But yeah, no, it's territory wise, what I'm hearing right now, I believe it's going to be Wisconsin. It's going to be through the central swath of Illinois, and then over in the Cincinnati-Dayton area.
All right, Coach, we appreciate the insight. It was a pleasure to meet you, and we'll look forward to doing it again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you for the intro. As was previously stated, my name is Ladell Betts, running backs coach here at the University of Iowa. New addition to the staff, probably not new to many of you familiar face, familiar name, but just a little bit older and a little less hair on top of my head these days. But it feels good to be back. It's been kind of surreal, somewhat nostalgic at times, and every emotion in between. But for me, this was a unique opportunity that I couldn't pass up on, an opportunity to come back to the university from which I started, to do something that I love, which is coaching football, and obviously to coach a position that I know pretty well, which is running back. When I first started playing football, I was 11 years old and didn't stop playing football until I was 31. So over the course of 20 years, I played nothing but running back. And post-career, went on to start coaching and coached running backs for the last 9 to 10 years. So as fate would have it, in 30 years of experience, it's led me back to the University of Iowa. And for me, I've been able to inherit a great group of guys, talented group from top to bottom, high character individuals. And that's a testament to the type of kids that this university recruits, but it's also a testament to Coach Foster, who I didn't have the pleasure of meeting, but it's clear that he definitely established a foundation in that room. And, as we go through spring, there's obviously various levels of experience in the room. We have 2 guys with a lot of experience, and the rest of the guys don't have much experience on Saturdays at all. So I'll start off with the older guys. I'll start off with Kelly Martin, kind of the elder statesman of the group, if you will. Haven't had an opportunity to work with him on the field yet, but he's been great in the meeting rooms, been available at practice, helping out with the younger guys. And then you've got Tyler Goodson, who I'm sure everyone knows, all Big Ten performer, tremendously talented young man, and with the work ethic to match. So you love that about him. Then after that, the experience level drops off a bit. We have some of the young guys in Gavin Williams and LeSean Williams, and for them, spring is huge right now. They're getting an opportunity to really not only learn the nuances of the offense, but really hone in on the fundamentals of the position as well. And then we have a little bit of a late addition in Nolan Donald. Nolan started off as a receiver coming into spring, but then moved over to running back. There's a little bit more opportunity there for him and provide some depth. So all in all, those guys have been doing everything that I've asked. They've accepted the challenge, and that challenge for me is to operate with a championship level attitude. That means weight room, meeting room, and on the practice field. And so far, they're fulfilling their end of the obligation. So I'm pleased with them. I'm excited about this whole opportunity. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to you guys. I thank you for being here. And if you have any questions, fire away.
All right, Coach, thanks for that. We will get started. And as we do, I will ask everyone out there to please state your name and affiliation. The first question this afternoon, Coach, is from Pat.
Yeah, hi, Ladell. This is Pat Hardy with Hawk Fanatic. And first of all, welcome back to Iowa City after all these years. And I want to ask you, you were there at the beginning under Kirk. You helped lay the foundation during the tough times. How can that help you in this new role, or can it help you?
Well, it can, because like anyone knows, we never know what the future holds. You never know. Wins and losses will take care of themselves, but at some point we're all going to, run into adversity. And so for me, having been through here, been through the tough times and having been through adversity, I can speak firsthand about how to get through that. And so if that time, or should I say when that time comes, if and when that time comes, I kind of know best how to handle that with our players. But our guys, we're recruiting high character individuals. They know how to compete and they know how to overcome adversity.
Coach, the next question is from Scott.
Yeah, hi, Coach Betts. I'm Scott Docterman with The Athletic. I hope you're doing well today. I wanted to ask you kind of about your NFL career and how it kind of applies to your coaching philosophy. You were in Washington, played alongside Clinton Portis, a terrific running back. You had a long career. What can you take away from your experiences in the NFL, and how can you apply that to teaching and coaching today, tomorrow, and moving forward?
Well, I think one of the misconceptions, just my personal opinion about running back, is that a lot of people think that we just run the ball. We just turn around and hand the ball off to running back and watch him go. But there's a lot of nuances to the position. And being in the NFL, you get to learn a lot of those nuances, whether it be obviously running the football, which everyone expects of us, but how to run routes, how to catch the ball, how to block, all those little techniques that really separate just your average tailback to taking your game to the next level. Because the truth is, there's running backs all over the country that know how to run, but can you do the other things? And so for me, that's something that I bring from my NFL experience to the meeting rooms now.
The next question, Coach, is from Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Ladell, welcome back to Iowa City. Tom Kakert with Hawkeye Report and Rivals.com. Question for you is about how has the Iowa run game changed from when you were running in it? And is it easier to teach it because you've done it?
Great question. The truth of that question is it actually hasn't changed much. And that was one of the first things that Brian told me when I got here. He said, I'm not worried about you learning the offense because you're going to remember most of it once you start hearing it. And it's true. And honestly, there's not a lot of different ways to run the football. You have zone schemes, you have gap schemes, and you have lead schemes. And we do all three. And everything that they're doing now is the same stuff that we were doing back when I was here. It's outside zone, inside zone, a few lead concepts and some gap concepts. Football, it's changed, but at the end of the day, the running game is a running game.
Coach Betts, we'll take the next question from Leah.
Hi, Coach. I'm Leah Van from the Cedar Rapids Gazette.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I was curious, you coached a lot of high school football, it looks like, and then all of a sudden you're at a Division I program, obviously where you played before, but I'm just wondering how you make that jump coaching-wise and what learning curves you might anticipate in this role, because a lot of guys kind of have to take a couple more steps than you do between coaching high school and Division I.
That's a great question. It is a little bit different, but at the end of the day, coaching football, when I'm on the field, it feels like home to me. It's what comes natural to me because at the end of the day, it's football. And football doesn't change. It's hitting, tackling, running, catching, passing the football. It doesn't change no matter what level you're at. Just a little more detailed at this level. I think the biggest change for me or the biggest learning curve will be the recruiting process. Obviously, there's a lot of compliance things that I have to learn and just going about that, which is something that from this side, I haven't been used to. I haven't been privy to as of yet. But as far as coaching, it's football at the end of the day, and I feel pretty comfortable in the role, especially coaching running backs. If I was asked to do something else, it might be a bigger learning curve for me.
Coach, the next question is from Mike Halas.
Hello, excuse me. Hello, Ladell. Mike Halas from the Gazette in Cedar Rapids.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good. What struck you? What's changed down there? Just from when you left 20 years ago to when you have arrived back to go to work, just what feels different? And then maybe on the other side, what feels the same?
The biggest difference is aesthetically. The city has changed a lot. I don't know how Iowa City purists feel about it, but it seems like a good change to me. There's more hotels and things of that nature, condos, newer coffee shops, newer restaurants. So that's the first thing that stands out to me. And then you have this building that didn't even exist when I was here. So when I came here for my interview, this was the first time I ever set foot in this place. So that's a big change for me. But as far as football and the fundamentals and the leadership within the organization, that hasn't changed. I mean, Coach Ferentz has been around here for 22 years plus, and he's done a great job. He wouldn't be here if he hadn't, if he wasn't doing a great job. So not a lot has changed, but more so aesthetically for me.
The next question, Coach, is from Chad.
Hey, Chad, how are you?
Hey, Ladell, Chad Leistico, Des Moines Register. Took me a minute to unmute there. Sorry. Obviously, in your bio, you have 5 daughters and 1 son. I was just curious kind of how that transition worked, bringing everyone. I assume you brought everyone up here from Florida, and you guys, I guess, what were those discussions like as a family too? That's a big change for a lot of people.
It is. Actually, my family's not even here yet. Some of my kids are still in school, so they haven't made the transition yet. But it was a very tough conversation, and we mulled it over many times because I wanted to make sure that they were on board with everything. And my wife was who is my biggest supporter. She's been on board since day one. She said, "Listen, you're crazy if you don't do this." So once I had her blessing, we're in this together, and the kids will adjust and they'll figure it out. But they haven't made it up here yet, but they plan to make it up here. We've already been up here and identified a house, so we plan to close and get in there hopefully pretty soon.
Coach, the next question is from David.
Hey, Ladell, welcome back to Iowa City. David Eichholt, 24/7 Sports, Hawkeye Insider. It might be kind of a loaded question, but how would you would you select those 3 words?
Oh, that's an easy one. Alignment, assignment, effort. That's what I preach to the guys every day. Alignment, assignment, effort. None of those 3 things require any athletic ability. If you know where to be, if you know how to do your job and what to do, and then last but not least, put forth the effort, I can coach you the rest.
Coach, the next question is from Scott Docterman of The Athletic.
Yeah, I had a question regarding Tyler Goodson. And I'm sure you got a chance to watch a lot of film from him last year and was one of the top running backs in the Big Ten and maybe one of the top 10 or 15 in the country. In what ways has he maybe made strides, and how do you hope to shape him and help him improve through this spring, the summer, and the fall?
Well, he's making strides. First of all, this is a first spring for everyone in the room except for Ivory Kelly Martin, who ironically can't participate in this spring. So for all of them, this is a huge experience for them to be able to work on their fundamentals and understand the nuances of the offense. But when you talk about Tyler specifically, I'm a firm believer in iron sharpens iron. So all these guys are out there competing, and as Gavin or LeSean or Nolan, or when Ivory gets a chance to come back, as those guys get better, which they have day in and day out throughout this spring, they'll continue to push him and make him better, and vice versa. As he gets better, he makes them better. So in that regard, I think, iron sharpens iron. Those guys come out here and they come to work and they come to compete. And the last thing I'll say about that is, from the day one, when I stepped into that meeting room, I told the guys, listen, your job as a player is to make my job very difficult. And what I mean by that is, I want you to perform at such a high level in practice that you make it hard for me not to play you. And when we have that type of attitude from everyone in the room, it will do nothing but push everyone, and that should elevate Tyler's play as well.
What's kind of his superlatives as a player? What do you see from him that makes him one of the better ones in the country?
Tyler has vision. One, he has vision, and then when you have vision, he has the ability to put action to that vision. Not everyone can do that. Sometimes people can see the move or see the run, but their body can't make it happen. He has the ability to do both, and I think that's his greatest asset. He has the vision. He has the ability to make put that vision into action.
Coach, for the next question, we'll circle back to Tom Kakert of Hawkeye Report.
Del, I wonder, you brought up recruiting a little bit. Do you have a territory that you're going to recruit? Are you going to be recruiting down in Florida, Kansas City, your old stomping grounds? Where are you going to be at?
I'll be in Minnesota. So far, I've been given Minnesota and a little bit of Florida. I've been given Tampa area and Jacksonville as well. So I won't be in Kansas City, but I'll be here in the Midwest area in Minnesota, and then I get a chance to go down to where it's been new home for me, which is down in Florida.
The next question, Coach, from Chad Leistico of the Des Moines Register.
Hey, me again. Back to Tyler Goodson. Where can he get better? And I wonder, as someone who seems to us to have enormous potential, like what types of things do you see from your NFL experience that he needs to do to get to the next level?
Well, I would say this for every running back, not just Tyler, but and I've expressed this to Tyler in the entire running back room, which is, again, there's running backs all over the country that know how to run football, right? So what can you do to elevate your game or to start to separate yourself from everybody else that runs the ball? And that's going to come down to, can you catch the ball? Can you pass block? And so those for him are going to be a big emphasis for him. Is how well do you catch the ball? How well do you run routes out of the backfield? How multidimensional can you be? And he understands that, and he's working at all those things.
Coach, the next question from Pat Hardy of Hawk Fanatic.
Yeah, Ladell, you signed with Iowa under Hayden Fry. You played your first season under Hayden Fry. What kind of impact did he have on you as you came to college and started to grow?
Well, I think one thing I've learned is a lot of this business is about relationships, especially when you're talking about college football. And I'm sure everyone knows Coach Fry was very charismatic. He made it easy for you to want to come play for him. He'd have jokes for you. So he was definitely a relationship guy. He would light up a room when he walked in. So that's one of the things I remember about Coach Fry, and one of the things I take with me. It's a relationship business, and you got to get to know your players and be able to connect with your players.
The next question, Coach, from Scott Docterman of The Athletic.
You know, last summer was a challenging period for this program in a lot of different ways. I want to know what you thought from afar when you maybe saw that developing, how connected you were during the summer, and then what's been your thoughts, your recollections, and your observations since you returned to Iowa, you know, for the first time in several years.
Right. Well, it's a bit unfair of me to speculate about things that happened or transpired while I wasn't here. But, you know, I'll say this. I definitely had an invested interest in what was being said, what was being talked about. And I'll assure you this, I would not be standing here before you if I didn't believe in the direction of this program. And I wouldn't be standing here before you if I didn't believe in Coach Ferentz' leadership of the program. So I can assure you that.
Coach, the next question from Leah Van of the Cedar Rapids Gazette.
I know you've spent a lifetime in football, but I also wanted to know why you got into coaching, just kind of off the resume.
I actually kind of fell into it, to be honest with you. When I left the game, I started helping out with NFL camps. It was an NFL sponsored camp. A buddy of mine was doing it, and he asked me to help out, so I did it. Worked alongside Troy Vincent for a little bit and fell in love with it. I just realized that it was one of the things actually post-football that kind of still made me light up a little bit, still gave me chills, you know, still gave me an opportunity to be around the game and work with young men and help mold and build character in young men. So after that, I just stuck with it. I never stopped coaching. It's what I enjoy doing.
Coach, the next question from Scott Docterman.
In looking at a couple of the backups or second teamers, you have, you know, obviously Ivory can't compete until probably August at the earliest.
Mm-hmm.
But what about Gavin and LaShawn Williams? How are they fitting in? And would you feel comfortable putting them in, whether it's a competitive situation or even if they needed to be in an important situation coming up in the fall?
I would. I definitely would feel comfortable putting those guys in. They've earned my trust over these last, 4 weeks. They're different runners, different styles. You know, Gavin's probably the bigger body in the room. I think more of a rhythm runner, meaning the more carries he gets, I think the more effective he'll be. He's very smart, takes his job very seriously in terms of trying to understand what his assignments are and what to do. And then LeSean's kind of the life of the room. You know, he makes me laugh every day. He's a funny kid, but he runs hard, runs behind his pads, and he's deceptively quick. I didn't realize how good his feet were until I got here. So those guys are continuously every day making an impression on me. And again, like I told them the first day, I want them to make my job as hard as possible. I want you to perform so well day in and day out that you make it hard for me to keep you off the field. Don't make my job easy where I have to look at you and say, okay, he's not ready. Make my job hard, and they're doing that.
Thank you very much.
All right, Coach Ladell Betts, I think that's it. So we want to thank you for your time this afternoon and welcome you back to Iowa City. Good luck moving forward.
Thank you. Hopefully we all get to see each other face to face soon, right?
That'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. All right, everyone, we'll catch